guys and answer some questions. So I was 21 when I quit drinking. It was August 13th, 2013. So August 12th was the last time I took a drink. So this year I actually have 8 years of sobriety. And just a little bit about my story. So basically, I started late. I started drinking after high school. And it was mostly just for fun, like with friends and stuff like that. But then it got to a point where it wasn't just fun, I was drinking all the time. I was drinking every weekend. I was disappearing. I wasn't answering phone calls. I was doing my own thing. And I thought that was just typical of a 21-year-old, of an 18-year-old at the time, sorry. So I ended up getting into a relationship that wasn't a very good one. So my drinking got worse. And then in the end, I decided to actually move back to England. And that's when my drinking got worse. And then I actually started using drugs when I went back to England because they were very accessible. So my drinking got worse. I started using drugs. And then it was like one significant event after the other. I was sexually assaulted here, but I was also sexually assaulted when I was back home in England on Halloween. And then 2.5 weeks after that, I actually had a horrific accident where I fell 11 feet and I broke my hip, my pelvis, and my hand. I was in hospital for a month. I had to learn how to walk again. I was on crutches. And then my drug use got worse because I got addicted to some of the drugs that I was taking after I broke my hip. And then I became homeless, and it was just one thing after the other. And then I came back here and I went to the last thing I remember is going to this house party and having a drink, and that's it. I actually, someone called 911 and my heart stopped, and the paramedics were doing CPR to bring me back. So that's when I went into Larson House and got sober and clean, and I haven't touched drugs or drank since, and hopefully coming in August will be 8 years for me. So that's just a little bit about my story. So during COVID, I've been at home. I have 2 kids. I have a 7-month-old called Arlo, and I also have a 5.5-year-old Aurora. She's at school 3 times a week, but I am a stay-at-home mom. I lost my job during COVID, so that's been a bit of a struggle. I have had some financial difficulties. I did go on the CERB benefit for a while, but then that ended, and now I am only getting child tax. So there has been a few financial difficulties, but I do have a roof over my head, so I'm very, very happy of that. And I have a partner as well who is really, really good and supportive. So isolation hasn't impacted my sobriety personally. I don't have a desire to drink or use anymore. That left me 6 years ago. So for 2 years I did have like cravings and stuff like that, but I don't anymore. For me personally, it's impacted me mentally. I am a very social person. So not being able to attend in-person meetings is really, really difficult for me. Since the pandemic started back in March, I've only been to 2 meetings, and I would go to at least 2 meetings a week. So to go to 2 meetings from like March to now, like almost a year of just 2 meetings, that's been a huge deal breaker for me. I do go on Zoom. I do Zoom meetings, but personally, it's not the same because there's lots of distractions when you're at home. Like, for example, I'll be making a cup of tea or getting a snack or doing, like, the kids will need me and stuff like that. So I need that hour of sanity, and I don't get it properly with a Zoom meeting because there's always constant distractions going on. And I know a lot of people in the rooms and stuff also have struggled with Zoom meetings, or they can't get onto Zoom meetings, and that's caused a lot of relapse in the community. I know quite a few people that have relapsed. I also know quite a few people that have passed away during the pandemic. So it's very, very difficult. So like I said, it got pretty bad before. Some of my negative consequences, I've been sexually assaulted twice. I was in an abusive relationship. I broke my hip and my pelvis pretty bad, and just a lot of other like mental health triggers. Like I have PTSD, but I deal with it. I have anxiety sometimes, you know, like there's some things that will trigger a panic attack, but I have figured out a way to get those under control. And then obviously the last thing that I said about like my heart stopped beating, that kind of changed me and that made me want to get sober. And like I suffered, like I got DTs when I was in Larson House, and I'd never experienced that before. So I did have like hallucinations and pain and shakes, and it was just not a fun time. And I don't really want to go back to that. So like I said, during COVID, doing meetings online has helped me a lot. Talking to people, I try and FaceTime. I FaceTime with my family regularly. I have my partner with me who is super supportive. I have friends that I can FaceTime, and then I have friends in the program too that I can talk to as well.